Welcome back. Today I'm going to address a question I've gotten a lot on this channel, which is why I prefer a top mounted RDS versus a offset 45-degree RDS. First off, if you like an offset at a 45 and it works for you, that's great. Keep doing what you're doing. Don't let me dictate your equipment to you. I'm just here to tell you why I like what I like. So first, I like the fact that it keeps the weapon fairly slick, right? Putting the rifle in either a hard case or a soft case, getting in and out of tight confines like vehicles, thickly vegetated areas, etc., 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 right? Having less stuff sticking off the side of the gun is better. That's my experience, and it really, I think, holds true, especially when you see very, very high mounted offset red dots. The other thing that I like about having it at 12 o'clock versus offset is that if you do get in the situation where you fall, which is very common in reality, unfortunately, you're probably going to fall like that. You're going to fall onto the weapon in like the worst case scenario. I don't want to put those kind of stresses onto the J-arm. I can protect the optic and protect the rifle better if there's nothing sticking off to then eat it as I slip while running up a metal staircase in the winter, which I have done before. I also like the top mounted red dot because it is 100% ambidextrous. I said before, right, you've never seen Tom Brady change arms, but it's nice to have the option, especially when you have other shooters who may have to use your rifle. It's also nice, say you're holding security, you want to get behind more cover, change shoulders, I can pick my head up, look through the red dot, and have a good field of view, also being able to dip down immediately into the magnified optic, which leads to my next point. Changing your head position from in line with the magnified optic to in line with the red dot is less movement than turning the whole weapon inboard like that. I have a very, very repeatable chin weld and cheek weld, right? Two different head positions on a very consistent stock that enable me to do that very consistently. This optic height for a red dot is also very, very similar to what we see with the 2.04, 226, etc., all these like large skyscraper mounts that have been popular today. Essentially, I've taken those mounts and now put a LPVO underneath it. I can consistently come into a room, come into a building, or any other kind of short-range environment and immediately drop down and utilize this red dot very effectively. Another reason I like it is because the height over bore doesn't bother me. So that's another common question. This height over bore on this setup is sitting at between 3 and 4 inches. So what that means is that at its worst, i.e. at point blank range, 3 yards, 5 yards, etc., I'm holding like this. If I put the red dot of the backup RDS on like the notch of the person's shirt, it's going to end up where I want it to go. Not a big deal. Now, hypothetically, what if you have to do a low percentage shot? Well, the first answer is know your holds. The second answer is you probably should be on this optic at 1x in the first place if that's your job, or use a completely different optics system to begin with. I also like this setup on top versus the side because it enables me not to be concerned about enablers on the end of the rail. So as I said before, right, I don't want things sticking out. Sometimes you can't avoid it. So if I had, say, a maul sticking out over here, the chance exists that this might not be high enough to clear the maul. If it is high enough, right, now it's a snag hazard. So we got to go in this circle where being on top, it just works better. I used high mounted red dots for a while, right? I went with the 2.04, the 226. I had a piece of Picatinny riser and an aim point mount on top of that. So this higher position, it doesn't really have any effect on me as far as height over bore and holds goes. Speaking of holds, I always zero my magnified optic at 100 So then all the holes are hold overs because everything is below the 100-yard or 100-meter point of aim. And then I always zero my red dots at 50 or 200. So I would prefer 200, right? But not every range allows that. So most people can survive with a 50 zero on this. What that does is enable me to take out pretty much all of the range estimation out to about 300 with this red dot up top. So it is point and shoot outside of CQB distances, if you will. I hope this helped you guys kind of figure out why I'm doing what I'm doing. I encourage you to try it and make your own decision. If you're shooting 3-gun or 2-gun and you really like your offset, you've never had a problem, don't let this be the video to convince you otherwise. But if you're just starting out and you maybe aren't quite certain what you want to try, these ring caps aren't super expensive, and it's worth giving it a shot as far as what works best for you. As always, I'm here to answer any questions, and I hope this helped. Thanks.